one of those two games are a game where they might have come out flat. Or particularly against Portland, when Portland climbed back into the game in the second quarter, where the Kings never quite pull all the way away. But what we've seen the last two nights, to me, is significant. Not because, oh my God, the Kings are going to win the Western Conference now. It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
But the encouraging thing for me here is that the Kings have gone in to games against lesser teams and controlled both of those games for 48 minutes. They've been in complete control. They've dominated. They've not done anything super different. They've not needed someone to bail them out. It has just been a methodical beatdown of lesser teams. And again, does that mean they're going to go win the West? No, we're not overreacting here on October 30th. But that is a significant sign of a mental shift for this team and growth in an area that last year, we talk about it all the time, probably cost them a playoff spot.
Definitely cost them a playoff spot. Kyle, if we go back to 2 years ago, when this team just had this resiliency to them, they did not lose bad games. They didn't lose games that you thought, oh, here comes the Pistons rolling into town. Kings are going to roll this team. And the next thing you know, they lose by 15.
Yep.
They didn't do that. They were hyper-focused. They lost against good teams on occasion. They didn't have prolonged losing streaks. Mm-hmm. But I also want to point this out, man. When we look at the first two games of the season, the Sacramento Kings came in and it looked a little off, right? Everything felt weird. And, Mike Brown is tinkering with the rotations in the first two games. I always talk about the check-in game. Kevin Huerter's already had his check-in game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the first two games of the season were about. It was about getting another player in the fold that can have a check-in game and we're still waiting for the Trey Lyles check-in game. The second Trey Lyles has his check-in game, and all of a sudden, if you have 8 guys that are rolling, you're going to be extremely difficult to beat. Mm-hmm. But in order to get there, sometimes you got to, go all Andy Dufresne and climb through 400 yards of filth-smelling muck to get to the other side. Totally. And you have to lose some games. You have to make things uncomfortable, because the only way this team moves together fully is if they move together with a group that is all locked in together. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, we're starting to see more and more of them lock in. Mm-hmm. And, again, the starters, the only one who I think has had maybe a perfect game here and there is Sabonis. Yeah. But overall, we're seeing, these moments from DeMar DeRozan that it carries you through a really bad first half of a game, and then he helps you propel to a win. Mm-hmm. We're seeing De'Aaron Fox have some moments where he takes over. Keegan Murray has a bunch of points in a game and plays great defense. We're having these moments where you're starting to see this saying what it might look like down the road. And in order to get to the finished product, sometimes you gotta start with, just a piece of wood, and you got to start working on that.
Finish that sentence quick, please.
Yeah. Just, you know what I'm saying? You have to, in order to mold something, you have to start somewhere.
Yes.
And we're seeing the beginning. And so I'm encouraged by what we're seeing.
Yeah. 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. How you feeling after the Kings beat the Utah Jazz 113-96 last night to move to 2-2 on the season, back to 500 after starting 0-4 the last 2 years? This is a big step. Big step getting to 2-2.
They're 500.
Look at them go.
Look at how many times in the past that they've been to 500.
Yeah.
It's never.
I think we talk with the 49ers a lot about complementary football, right? That is, your defense is getting stops. Maybe they generate a turnover, short field. That's the offense capitalizing. Mm-hmm. Or defense struggling, they give up back-to-back touchdowns, offense stepping on the field, picking them up, and scoring touchdowns and keeping up. That's that complementary football, right? It's just a complete team win. That's the other encouraging sign for me with Sacramento the last couple of nights. It's not they went in and beat Portland 140-138, or they beat Utah, 91-89.
They escaped.
Yeah. They're going out, their offense is rolling. And defensively, the last couple of nights, they've been locked in. Now, again, let's see what this looks like when they play Dallas or Oklahoma City or Denver or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what it looks like then. But for now, like, this is growth. These are positive steps where they're dominating against bad teams.
Yeah, I think it's very positive.
Yeah.
Like, and we're seeing it from every angle. Kyle and I talked about this before we got on the show, that this is the first time in the regular season that the Sacramento Kings have, in the Mike Brown era, held a team under 100 2 games in a row.
You said back-to-back games.
I said back-to-back
April
games.
14th, Portland Trailblazers, season finale last year. The Blazers scored 82. And then in the first play-in game, 2 days later, the Warriors scored 94. That's back-to-back games.
But it's not, because a play-in game doesn't exist. Those stats don't live anywhere.
It's the dumbest thing.
No one gets stats for those.
The dumbest thing.
They are. It's like an inning that doesn't go 5. A baseball game that doesn't go 5 innings. It doesn't count.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So
just call them extra regular season games.
It's really weird.
Or call them postseason games. I don't care.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You have to call them postseason
games. That's it. Yeah.
But they don't want to call them postseason games because technically it's not the post. It's a postseason, but it's not the playoffs.
Season. It is post-season. It's after the season.
Yes.
Postseason, one word, is the playoffs.
Yes.
That's the first round. Western Conference quarterfinals. That's the first round.
I think we have to make a distinction between what is postseason, what is playoffs. That might be the distinction. Like, if you're one of the top 8 teams, you're in the playoffs. If you make the play-in, you're part of the postseason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, I'm fine. Do something with those stats.
Yeah.
Do anything with the numbers. On Basketball Reference, they're listed back to back. That, to me, says they've done it in the Mike Brown era.
They've done it. They've done it. Either way, it's a good stat that they've held 2 teams under 100. And look, Portland is not going to be good, and Utah is not going to be good. And
Utah stinks, bro.
Yeah, we can get into that. That neither one of these teams are going to be good at all. But they're still NBA teams with NBA players that can bust you up anytime.
Yes.
I mean, again, Portland, the night before the Kings faced them, dropped like 130. They beat
the hell out of the Pelicans.
The Pelicans, like, trashed the Pelicans.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about the Pelicans later.
Yeah.
Kings go 0-6 against this version of the Pelicans. I want to keep talking about the Kings. But Don is on the line. Don, you're on the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen. What's up?
Vibes are up is what I got to say. Red Velvet is back. Samar just comes in, gets 20 in his sleep. I love that Domas is being aggressive so far. And Keon Ellis should never get a DNP, in my opinion. Thank you guys.
That's a good radio call. Nice job. Thanks,
That was
Don.
a good, concise radio call.
I totally agree. He brought up. Well, in fact, we'll just kind of roll through everything our guy Don just talked about. But he brought up Domas. We, before the season, tried to paint a path to one of the Kings players winning an MVP.
Yeah.
And I know we have a mutual friend who has a financial stake in De'Aaron Fox winning MVP.
That's true.
But what Domas is doing right now, and this is exactly what we said, when Mike Brown talked about, I want Domas shooting more threes. It's like, yes, that is something that I and many others have been clamoring for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Want him shooting more threes. And if he did, can he get his points from 19 a night up to 22? Can he get to 22 a night? And right now he's at 24 a game, 11 boards. Is he at 8 assists?
No, his assist numbers have dropped to 5.5.
5.5. Okay, call it 6.
Yep.
If he's averaging 24, 11, and 6 on 67, 54, 76, and the Kings are a top, and if he does that, the Kings are going to be a top 4 seed.
Yeah.
That's going to get a lot of MVP votes.
Yeah, he's in the discussion.
And I know that, okay, yeah, the assist numbers are down, but I know it sucks, but like points are the thing. Points are, if you're not at 20, it's going to be really hard to go win an MVP award.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this so many times. It's like going back to the ESPN commercial, like chicks dig the long ball. Like it is. Like
that's it.
You get paid in Major League Baseball by hitting home runs. You get paid in the NBA by scoring points.
That's it.
Yeah, and you get awards in the NBA by scoring points.
That is the long and short of it. So what Domas is doing right now, while maybe the rebounding numbers aren't at 14 or 15, he's at 11. And maybe the assist numbers aren't at 8 or 9, he's at 6. But the points jumping to 24.3 a night and him shooting 68% from the field and 54.5% from 3. You get into the top 4, top 3?
It just feels like every single time he walks on the floor, he is so good at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And if he has expanded what he does, if he's added to his arsenal, man, he's going to be, I mean, all NBA is like almost foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
All-star, like the fact he didn't make the all-star team last year is one of the most criminal acts by the voters and the league ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just absolutely despicable he didn't make the all-star team last
dumb.
year. And, I keep talking about this. Like, what's at stake for Domas is like a potential Hall of Fame nod versus, he's at 3 All-Star games. If he gets to 6 All-Star games, he's almost surefire Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
And to hold him back in an incredible year during his prime and not give him an All-Star nod and give it to somebody else who, like, clearly there were a couple of guys that you could have left off the list. Really tough.
But they scored a lot of points.
That's it.
So but during the preseason, one of the big takeaways of the preseason is like, man, Domas is so much more aggressive scoring the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we've seen this year. And it's not like he's taking 20 shots a game.
He's still
13 field goal attempts a night.
Yeah, 13.3.
Almost exactly what he was doing last year. But to me, it's the 3-pointers.
Yep.
He's now making 1.5 a game, averaging 2.8 a game, and hitting them at a good clip at 54.5%. That's exactly why we wanted to see him shooting more of those.
Yep.
And that number will come down a little bit over the course of the year. But even if he continues shooting, what did he shoot last year? 38%? 39%?
Let's see. Last season he shot 38%, 37.9.
Even if he lands there at 3 tonight, he's going to be well over 20 points a game.
Yep.
And if you do that, the Kings are going to continue winning a lot. And that is where you're looking at a true like top 3 MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And he's played like it, man. Like it's not a coincidence that the Kings have gone out and you see this mindset shift against lesser teams where, hey, Domas is putting the ball in the basket, he's scoring, other people following suit. That stuff matters, man. And I love that he's too skilled of a player to get in the lane and immediately look to pass. Yeah, that spray out to Keegan, if you got him wide open in the corner because the defense has collapsed, great. But if you're one-on-one with Walker Kessler, just go through him and score the damn ball.
Yep.
That's what we've seen, man. I've really loved what Domas has done this year.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, like last year he shot 13 shots per game. This year he's at 13.3, so it's 0.3.
Not a massive difference.
And he's averaging 5 more points per game. And all of those points, right now he's averaging 4.5 points per game on 3-point shots. Last year he averaged 1.2. So there's 3.7 of your 5, right? The other is not only is he gone from 5.1 free throw attempts to game to 6.3, but he's gone from 70% to 76%. Yep. It's literally 1.2 points per game. The difference in his stats exactly are the 1.2 more points per game in free throws and the 3.7 more per game that he's averaging in 3-point shots.
Yep.
Same player, just added one more 3-pointer.
Small wrinkle.
And a little bit more as a free throw shooter.
And those assists are going to come down. I think the assist numbers were always due to come down a little bit, having nothing to do with him all of a sudden becoming a guy who doesn't pass it, but more because like DeMar DeRozan off a dribble handoff is going to dribble the air out of the ball before he goes and shoots it.
Yeah, he does kill a couple of assists.
Yeah, there's just not going to be
a
ton of assists to DeMar DeRozan. And he's a high usage player. So I think that was always bound to happen. I honestly have been incredibly impressed by Domantas Sabonis this year. Even more so, like we knew he was going to be a lunch pail guy. We know he's going to come in and he's going to have he's going to get his double-double. He's going to dish out a bunch of assists. Like we knew that. We know he's an all NBA caliber player. The level that he's gone to this year, that little tick up is one of the things that if the Kings were going to go from good team in the West to a contender in the West, I thought that was going to be a requirement, and we're seeing it.
Yeah.
And that's been that's been awesome.
I mean, it's 4 games in, so we have to be a little bit like
good start.
Yeah,
it's a good start.
It's a good start. But the thing is with Sabonis is his ability to repeat what he does is like unmatched. I mean, the fact that all the double doubles, we can like kind of throw the stat out because okay, he got double, but like 72 double doubles or whatever it was. That's just
the consistency.
It's just bonkers. It means that he shows up every single day and repeats what he did the day before. And so if he's going to be this type of player where he is shooting threes, and also like, look, the offense has been clunky for the first. They've scored, but even last night's game wasn't like. I mean, they scored 113, right? It wasn't just a 127 game. His numbers, his assist numbers will go up as the offense gains like its fluidity. As of right now, it's a little clunky. When this thing is at its premium, he's going to have plenty of assists.
This wasn't something we had planned to talk about, but I'm looking at the Kings season stats right now, and I want to discuss it. I wanted to see if Kevin Huerter was on pace for a 50-40-90 season because he's shooting 55.9% from the field, 41.7% from three. Do you know what he's shooting from the free throw line? Don't look.
100. No?
0.
Oh, he hasn't gone to the
line. He hasn't shot a free throw. Kevin, get to the line, my guy.
Especially in a game where you shot like 34 one night, 25 another.
Put the ball on the deck and go foul hunting. Your team is up 25 in the fourth quarter. Go get me a free throw.
It's funny. Before we came on, we were talking and I asked Kyle, hey, do you know who leads the NBA in 2-point field goal percentage? And like,
I had no idea.
Yeah, you had no idea. Kevin Huerter is shooting 90% on 2-point field goal attempts.
Sorry, everybody, that was loud.
Kevin Huerter currently leads the NBA in 2-point field goal percentage. And hey, just so people know, he was like top 5 2 years ago in 2-point field goal percentage. When he's in the mid-range or he's around the key, people forget that he's 6'7". They do. They forget. For whatever reason, no one plays him like a 6'7" guy. And when he's creative in the key, he can score all the time.
Yeah, like, dude, his little floater's nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get to our Jiffy Lube teamwork play of the game from last night. Shout out to our friends at Jiffy Lube. Let's see. I'll learn how to do this someday. How about Keon Ellis last night? Here's our Jiffy Lube teamwork play of the game. Keon Ellis, not really a teamwork play because this is just Keon doing it all himself.
Next, here comes Colin Sexton, head full of steam. Oh, give me that. Keon with the steal. Kings with numbers. Fox hanging. Keon there for the putback. And the Sacramento Kings crashing the old glass as they build a 12-point lead.
Shout out to our friends over at NBC Sports California for that highlight. Keon's ridiculous. He was really good last night. That's a great pass ahead.
He's got his pop back. That's what the finish there. Like,
yeah.
Where did that come from?
Yeah,
because that hasn't been there at all. And so
he looked so slow in that season opener against Minnesota.
Yeah, in the preseason, the same thing.
Yeah,
like everything was really intentional, and he was really slow on his when he was defending. He wasn't fighting through screens well. He kept grabbing. He kept getting called for fouls. I mean, he had so many fouls in the preseason. To me, like, look, this is, if we're going to see this Keon Ellis, then he will earn whatever minutes. And this is what I kept telling him. It doesn't matter what Keon Ellis scores ever. It doesn't. Like, he can't just be non-existent. But last night he finishes with 5 points, but he has 4 rebounds. He has 2 assists. He has 2 steals. He has 3 blocks. That stat line is a glue guy in a nutshell.
It's exactly what that's why he was so impactful last year.
Yes.
He hitting threes at the clip he did was a bonus. Hitting threes at the rate he did was the reason we were like, hey, should this guy be starting? Or actually, in my case, he should be starting.
Yeah.
Like if he's going to knock down threes as reliably as he was, that's a bona fide scoring threat. On top of what he brought defensively. And that's where maybe, again, I don't know, I haven't talked to the guy. Maybe that's just kind of where the hesitancy was really in summer league. He didn't have a great summer league. And then early in the year he was trying to fit a different role. It's like, no, man, what you did last year was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you need, like growing your game from okay, I can handle a little bit better passer, a little bit better shooter. That's obviously things you're going to want to work on. But he has carved out a really nice role with the Kings, where if he's going to do what he did last night, where he's super active defensively, when called upon offensively, he's going to contribute, but they're not going to run the ball through him. He did it. He's figured it out. This is his niche. This is his role. This is how he's going to be in the NBA for 15 years, by being this guy.
No,
he's really damn good at it.
I totally agree. Like the energy and the pop that he brings to the court. When you watch the Kings play and he's on the court late in the season, you saw him the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a moment where he just blends in. And that's a good thing. Like if he can be that player, I think, whatever it was that he was dealing with, coming into the season or whatever was happening. And like, we can look at the way that he was a starter, wasn't going to be the starter, all that stuff. Maybe that messed with him a little bit too.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, like what we need to see from him as a player in the rotation is what we saw last night.
Yep.
Like I thought he was absolutely spectacular. We've got some
breaking news.
Well, some news here that like I
it's
haven't
regular
seen
news,
it.
Not breaking.
Yeah, it's not breaking, but I think it plays into a larger discussion. Scotty Barnes has injured his orbital fracture.
Oh no.
And he'll be reevaluated.
This is
Yeah, so the reason I bring it up is the Kings play the Raptors on Saturday. So it sounds like Scotty Barnes might not play. And Bogdanovic also had this is something I dealt with when he was here, a non-surgical procedure, and he is out as well. So Atlanta will be without Bogdanovic, and the next night you're going to play.
That's stitches?
No, it's a surgery. They don't want to call it a surgery. It's exactly what, I literally had.
Oh
this
yeah,
problem.
that classic non-surgical surgery. Sure.
Yeah, he had
100%.
a procedure, not a surgery, and so I wrote it, and then I sent it in, and then an editor changed the headline to Bogdanovic undergoes surgery, and I was like, man. So I ended up getting a phone call. It's not a surgery. It's a procedure. And I had to call my editor, like, hey, man, they're saying it's not a surgery. It's a procedure. But this is a second time.
The main difference between a procedure and a surgery, this is via Google's AI bot that is perfect and never makes mistakes. The main difference between a surgery and procedure is that surgery is more invasive and requires an incision into the body, while a procedure is generally less invasive and doesn't require an incision.
Okay. I just, like, if you're having a knee clean out, that's a surgery.
Yeah, but that requires an incision. So if you're cutting your knee open to scope it, that's a surgery, dog.
I don't know. All I know is that when Bogey was here, and this is agent speak. Whoever his agent is does not like it to be called a surgery.
Right, because if he has 9 of these, you don't want to say, yeah, I've had surgery 9 times.
Yeah,
I get it.
But at this point, it's not like Bogey's a young man. It's not like he's 32. Like he's had some procedures done.
How many is it in the NFL, like a catch 1 knee equals 2 feet? How many procedures equal a surgery? I think 3 procedures equals 1 surgery.
I think it's probably less than that. It's probably 2 procedures equals 1 surgery.
Yeah. We got more to get into from last night's Kings game, and we will. Chris Biderman of the Sacramento Bee, who is on the road trip with the Kings, he was there last night. He will join us coming up here at 10:30. But before we get to that, there was a World Series game last night, Game 4. The Dodgers looking for a sweep of the Yankees. The Yankees won 11-4. Shout out to Anthony Volpe. Had a huge, grew up a Yankees fan, was at the World Series parade in 2009. Has a massive grand slam after the Dodgers had gone ahead. I believe it was 4-1. He hits a grand slam, gives the Yankees the lead. They never look back. They win 11-4. Jack Flaherty going for the Dodgers tonight in Game 5. 4 p.m. coverage begins right here on ESPN 1320. I don't want to talk about the baseball game. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about the most insane thing I've ever seen a fan do at a baseball game, and I've seen a lot of insane things.
This is crazy.
This is the wildest thing I've ever seen a fan do. This is Joe Davis on the call for Fox. If you are listening, we will describe the play if you did not see it. Here's the call.
Fly to right by Torres. Betts in the corner. Does he have room? Fights with the fan. And they're going to say that it's an out and fan interference. So an out, one gone in this first. It's the second time that Gleyber Torres has hit a ball that has ended up in fan interference in this series. He had the home run turned into a double back at Dodger Stadium.
Look at this idiot.
Yeah, Betts has that ball in his glove.
This
fan literally
What's he doing?
tries to take his glove off.
The other fan grab his hand.
Right.
Tries the ball out of there.
Those two fans, and I'm not, if you're listening, it's a short wall in right field. Mookie Betts reaches up into the stands to grab it, and the fans are grabbing his glove and trying to yank his glove off his hand and pull the ball out of his glove.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fan sitting next to the fan doing the glove pulling puts his hands on Mookie Betts to try and push him away because he's trying to pull his glove away from this guy. Here's what these guys after the game weren't like, oh my God, we're so sorry, we were drunk. Here's the quote after the game. This is from ESPN. Austin Capobianco, a Yankees season ticket holder,
not anymore,
said he knew he would be in trouble, but chose to grab and open Betts' glove nonetheless, telling ESPN that he and Peter, that's his buddy, often discussed this exact scenario. If a foul ball comes their way, they're going to do what they can to help their team. I patrol that wall, and they know that. Eject this guy from every sporting event that ever happens for the rest of time.
Done.
That is unacceptable fan behavior.
He literally has like a bank robbery plan tattooed to his chest.
If you want to reach up, again, foul ball and opposing team going over, and you want to put your hands up to try and grab that foul ball and it's in the seats, don't reach over the wall, but it's in the seats, go for it, dude.
Yep.
That's your right. When it's been caught, it's caught.
Don't ever touch the player. Do
not touch him.
Don't ever touch a player.
That is insane. And the fact that afterwards is like, yeah, I patrol the wall. They know that. That's how the guy talks in my brain.
I agree.
No. You patrol nothing. You do not get to go to games anymore. You've lost that privilege.
Yeah, you're done.
Anyways, completely insane. The World Series continues tonight. Game 5, 4 p.m. Coverage begins. Dodgers-Yankees right here on ESPN 1320. All right, Chris Biderman of the Sacramento Bee. He's going to join us next. Let's talk some Kings Jazz right here on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. Meow. What up, dog?
What's up, guys? How's it going?
It's going great.
I promise you I'm not as red or sunburnt as I look in this visual right now.
Are you in the red area? Is that what's happening?
I think it's about 40 degrees in Salt Lake.
Oh, it's balmy.
And, okay. Yeah.
What's up, man? How's Salt Lake?
How's it going?
You had some good eats last night?
Of all the cities I've been to, it's definitely one of them. No, it's fine. I haven't had an opportunity. Flew in early yesterday morning and then went just tried to sleep as much as I could and ate at the hotel. So I haven't really gotten to like see the city. But it's also 40 degrees, so I've been staying inside.
Any big plans in Atlanta? Because you have an extra day in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I have an entire day. It might be a day to catch up on work, non-Kings related stuff. We'll see. There's
got to be a cool museum there. I'd be a museum guy if I traveled.
There's I know there's like the College Football Hall of Fame is right downtown.
Ooh, that'd be sick.
Which might be fun.
If you go to that and there's any sick hoodies in the gift shop, let me know.
Okay. I will let you know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe see a movie. Pull a Nick Wagner and go see a movie by myself.
Dude, solo movie trips are great. Drew Down in the Chatty House. You're live in the Chatty House, by the way.
Yes.
Said you should go to Magic City and get some lemon pepper wings.
Had been considered.
I kind of love this idea very much.
Had a family reunion in Atlanta over the summer, and my cousins and I almost did. Almost went to Magic City for the wings.
Isn't that what what's his ass? Lou Williams? Didn't he get in trouble for that during the bubble? Like he went to Magic?
That sounds familiar.
That sounds familiar. An internet joke?
No, that's possible. I mean, we had Rashawn Holmes go get the chicken wings.
Chatty House, are we pro or anti lemon pepper wing? Chris and I are staunchly pro.
Anyone who's anti lemon pepper wing is wild, and none of their opinions should be taken seriously.
Chris is out on you.
Warren's anti lemon pepper. Come on, Warren. Securing a bet. Oh my God, this is outrageous. I'm blocking every single person. Blocked. Venmoing $20. Ramsey gets it. When Ramsey likes a thing, that's how I know I'm in the right. Because Ramsey doesn't like any food.
That's very true. How much time do we have?
We still got a minute 20. I broke so late. That's my bad.
Yeah, you've got Chris. You've got some cold weather stops this year. It sounds like.
Yeah, I got Minnesota next month, New York in January, and whenever the Boston, Chicago, Milwaukee trip is also going to be. So I think that's January also.
Yeah.
So those are mine.
I went to New York for All-Star Weekend, and I think it was 17 below.
Yeah.
At one point with wind chill factor. It was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. My face was so frozen, and I had to go from like one coffee shop to the next, like every half block. Like,
yeah, two years ago, the Kings had that. They had consecutive home games in Minnesota in the middle of February, and I think that was the coldest I've ever been, or at least it was on par with like. I've been to a couple Niners playoff games at Lambeau. On par with that. Minnesota's wild how cold it gets.
10 seconds.
10 seconds.
MLB is not allowing those guys in for Game 5. A stunner. Here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James Ham there, Kyle Madsen here, and Chris Biderman of the Sacramento Bee live from Salt Lake City, getting ready to head to Atlanta, following the Kings around like a weirdo. Appreciate you jumping on, Chris. Nice little win for the Kings last night. For me, the big takeaway is not that they're better than the Jazz or that they're better than Portland, but that it felt like either of those games are games they could have lost last year. And neither game was really in doubt. They kind of went in and dominated two games they should have dominated. And to me, that shows a little bit of a shift in mindset for this year's team. Is that your takeaway, or are you chalking this up as early season bad teams?
Yeah, I mean, Portland and Utah both seem like teams that are squarely in the Cooper flag race. So, but I do think it's a fair point to make that. We have seen the Kings over the last couple of years play down to their competition, and those games would either be a lot closer than they should be, or the Kings would even lose a couple of those games. But last night, I just think overall, and last night's included in this, just DeMar DeRozan adds a level of stability that he's not really going to let them have those type of letdowns, because even if the rest of the guys are struggling and there's an off night from three, collectively. You can dump the ball to DeMar and he can get you a good look, or he could get to the free throw line, or he could even play make for somebody else. He had 8 assists last night. And a point that Mike Brown made before the game is that, Domantas Sabonis assists might be down this year overall because DeMar DeRozan's going to command the ball a lot more than anybody else since Mike Brown has been here. So that creates opportunities for the Kings, I think, to have a little bit more variability in their offense. They don't always have to be the up-tempo, fast-paced, high-volume three-point shooting team. When that's not working, they can go to a different club in their bag and, dump it down to DeMar DeRozan or let him go one-on-one or play make for somebody else. So and that's something that that Will Hardy, Jazz coach, talked about before the game. He coached DeMar DeRozan in San Antonio as an assistant on Greg Popovich's staff, and he mentioned, like, when he first found out DeMar DeRozan was going to the Kings, his thought was, oh no, now they're going to be able to switch up their offense and not just be that up-tempo, high-volume three-point shooting team, which, when you shoot a lot of threes, there's a lot of variability in that too. If you have an off night, you can lose to anybody. And so what DeMar DeRozan adds is somebody who's going to consistently get you, 18 to 30 points and could provide that stability that insulates you from some of that variation you can have with your three-point shooting.
Yeah, Chris, I kind of noticed I think, you hate to say it's a good thing to lose a game, right? But I think the way that they lost to the Lakers kind of shined a light on this fact that when things go south, you need to feed DeMar DeRozan and he needs to get to the line. He needs to take control in those situations, as sort of like, especially when he was on the court, like the senior guy on the court. And I kind of feel like we saw the game against Portland start off very clunky, very weird. And DeMar, it clicked in his head, like, okay, I need to get to the line. I need to figure out whatever it is and get us moving the right way. And it seemed like that helped pull the team out of the funk. And I think that maybe that Lakers game, where they did lose a game that they probably shouldn't have, but I think it may have opened up the room for DeMar to feel like it's his place to do what we're asking him to do at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's going to take time, right? Like, it's been, it was obviously clunky in the opener against Minnesota. And, everybody on the Kings is fully aware of the fact that it's going to take time to incorporate DeMar DeRozan into the offense because of just the contrasting style that he plays with. That being said, like, the Kings have, I think they're 6th offensively through 4 games, and they're at, 115.6 points per 100 possessions, something like that. So even though it's still not where they want to be, it's been pretty successful. That said, their last, they've only played 4 games and 2 of them have come against teams that we presume to potentially be tanking for Cooper Flag. So I do think it's trending in the right direction. I think Mike Brown's talked about how, not having Kevin Huerter throughout training camp kind of threw a wrench into things, and there's still an adjustment for Huerter playing off of DeMar DeRozan and Trey Lyles to a lesser extent. So this is going to be a work in progress. But I think, even that being said, like, they're off to a promising start, and they're doing things that would indicate that, this could be a more difficult team to play in the playoffs than it was previously, because they do have a guy who can score in different ways in DeMar DeRozan. I think that's all by design. That's why they got him.
Chris Biderman in the Sacramento Bee joining us now, also host of the famed Candlestick Chronicles podcast on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. That's I've heard that. Domantas Sabonis this season, and we can talk about, DeMar DeRozan and Keon Ellis having a great game last night, and Kevin Huerter looking like he's getting back to form. But Domantas Sabonis through the first 4 games, averaging 24.3 points a night, 11 boards, 5.5 assists. Is how much of an impact has his uptick in scoring? How much impact do you think it's had, and how much impact can it have on this team moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's pretty substantial because, one thing, when obviously the Warriors series a couple years ago, it was their game plan was play off him. Basically play in the restricted area, let him shoot anything further away than that. And the Kings didn't really have a counter. And now you do have that counter, right? You do have DeMar DeRozan, and you actually have somebody who's better at setting up Domantas Sabonis than the other guys have been. While you're also taking some playmaking off of his plate. And I think overall it just makes for a healthier diet of offense and shots for Sabonis instead of relying so heavily on him. I think, what was he, second or third in the entire NBA in terms of how much he had the ball last year. Obviously he was good in that role and DHOs and those types of things. But now he is a good finisher around the basket. And so now you can optimize him in those ways a little bit more with DeMar DeRozan's playmaking. So I think that's a net positive for sure. But the counterpoint to that is his assists are going to be down. Like his assist numbers, I think, are just going to be down throughout the season because DeMar DeRozan is going to have the ball in his hands a lot, to Mike Brown's point. I think one of the things that you're getting with DeMar DeRozan is potentially a more maximized version of Domantas Sabonis from a scoring perspective, because you rely less on him to facilitate for everybody else.
Yep.
And I think that's ultimately a long-term positive for the Kings.
Yeah, I think it is a long-term positive. Chris Biderman from Sacramento Bee joining us here on the Insiders. Chris, we saw Keon Ellis come in, and he's worked his way back into the rotation. But watching him last night, the energy, the effort, the stat line is wild. 5 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Like, that's the glue guy this team needs. Did you see a little more bounce in his step last night? And how do you think they're going to figure this whole thing out with him in and out of the rotation, or do you think he's earned his way back into Mike Brown's good graces?
Yeah, it sounds like Mike Brown is pretty comfortable with 9 in the rotation, and obviously Keon is part of that 9. The 4 coming off the bench, and Alex Len, Trey Lyles, Malik Monk, and Keon. I think there's the Kings are still working a lot of stuff out, frankly, right? Like, it seems like Mike Brown has a pretty young assistant coaching staff. Like, losing Jordi Fernandez, I think, is no small thing for them because of how much responsibility he had during games. And I think, Jordi's was the defensive coordinator. Luke Locks is in that position now, and Luke's never done that before. He hasn't been a defensive specialist assistant coach before. But one of the other things that Jordi Fernandez did was, when Mike Brown was wrapped up in the game and, coaching the game, sometimes he would lose track of their substitution patterns, their planned substitution patterns. And that's one thing that Jordi Fernandez would take care of. And, I think there's been some clunky substitution patterns. I think in the season opener, when you had all those guys play 40 plus minutes, I think that was a function of Mike Brown being wrapped up in the game and the assistants not necessarily doing what Jordi did, which was just sub guys automatically when Brown was busy doing other things. So I think there's a transition period going on there. And I think Keon might have been, that might have been part of the issue with Keon. And also it was a Kevin Huerter. Like, Kevin Huerter, the Kings view Kevin Huerter's spacing is integral to what they want to do. And Mike Brown said that he thinks Kevin Huerter's playing well on both sides of the ball right now, and that they need him to, right now be that starting shooting guard. And that's kind of put Keon Ellis in sort of a weird spot to start the season. But now, to your point, James, I think Keon's settling into that role, coming in with Malik Monk, in the back half of the first quarter, being that sort of super sub combo guard and providing perimeter defense. I think that is ultimately a really good niche for him. And, we've seen it before. Like, if Kevin Huerter struggles down the road, then maybe Keon will get back into the starting lineup. But for now, I do think Mike Brown is pretty settled on his 9-man rotation. And I think as things get moving forward, the Kings coaching staff is going to be better at handling those substitution patterns while they get used to Jordi Fernandez no longer being there.
Chris Biderman covers the Sacramento Kings for the Sacramento Bee, live from Salt Lake City right now. I know you got to run and catch a flight here in a bit, but I guess, James, we haven't really gotten to talk about this. So if you would like to also answer this question, feel free. But Chris, we'll start with you. Do you think that Trey Lyles at the 5 is just going to be the thing we see moving forward, or was that a specific matchup thing with the Jazz, or will we start seeing him be the 5 in this kind of 9-man rotation?
I'd have to go back and look, but I think it was kind of specific to the Jazz matchup because the Jazz had first spells in the game John Collins playing the 5, and he's pretty small for a 5. So I think that's what the Kings were doing. They just wanted Trey Lyles' mobility out there to match up with Collins. But I mean, you guys remember like a couple years ago when they went to Minnesota and they had that overtime win in Minnesota. A big part of it, Domantas Sabonis fouled out. Trey Lyles played small ball center against Rudy Gobert, and he spread the floor. He rebounded well, used his physicality. I think that's something. While Trey Lyles gets further removed from his injury and gets back into a rhythm, using him as sort of a small ball 5 to stave off or be a matchup issue for bigger, slower centers. I think that's something that can always be in the Kings' bag. Because they can play 5 out with 5 shooters, and that can be. I think you need to be able to do that at some level and not lose too much defensively to win in the NBA. Particularly, you look at what the Celtics are doing. You look at why the Knicks traded for Cat. Everybody wants to play 5 out now, so I think the ability to do that is going to be important for the Kings at some point. But I think last night it was more specific to the Jazz just because John Collins was playing small ball 5 for them.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Yeah, the small ball 5 is something that is integral to like good basketball teams at this point in the NBA. And if the Kings are going to take a big step, there are going to be nights where Alex Len doesn't play. And Alex Len is a trooper. He understands what's going on, and he's more than willing to accept that some nights he won't play. Last night he played 5 minutes all in at the end of the game. I do think we're going to see more and more of it, but I also feel like Mike, at this point, his job was first to get Kevin Huerter going. Now it's to try to find ways to get Trey Lyles going. And sometimes that means giving him an opportunity to play against bigger guys that he can go out and drag those guys outside and really, find his own game. And so it's a process to get these guys back on the court. Missing 5 or 6 weeks leading up to the start of the season isn't ideal for anyone. Missing 7 months leading up to the season isn't ideal, but we're seeing Mike having to figure out ways to get these guys on the court and in game shape on the fly. And in order for this team to be optimized, Kevin Huerter has to be great and Trey Lyles has to be really, really good. And the only way to force these guys out there is, again, you just look, they just played 4 games in 6 nights. You got to get them on the court in game action because there is no practice time.
Yeah, for sure. Chris Biderman, Sacramento Bee. We got a couple more for you here. My thing with the Kings, I said 51-31 before the season. Nothing has happened through the first 4 games that have moved me off of that. Has anything happened through these 4 games that have made you feel better or worse about the Kings than you thought coming in?
That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I mean, maybe I do feel a little bit better about the way that they're relying more on DeMar DeRozan to either get buckets and change up the pace of the offense versus I think the Kings were probably over-reliant on Domantas Sabonis the last couple of years offensively. And I think that was a big reason why their season stalled out in the playoffs and in the play-in tournament the last 2 years. I think teams just figured out ways to defend it. And I think the Kings are just frankly a whole lot more difficult to defend now. So I'm expecting as the season goes on for that to look better and better, barring injury, of course. But I think what DeMar DeRozan does complements what the rest of the guys do. And I know, it's not necessarily a super easy fit because he's not, the high flying, fast-paced guy that we associate with the Kings typically. But I think it's a good counterbalance. It's good to have another club in the bag. Like I said, like whatever sports metaphor you want to use, like a changeup or an off-speed pitch, right?
You are a golf guy, so
I try to be. But yeah, so I think that's positive. And I think when you can incorporate DeMar DeRozan to a point where it's taking less off Domantas Sabonis's plate, like I said, I think that's a positive.
Chris, you're on the road with the team. How much do you think they needed this early season road trip to get away? It's 8 days, but like teams bond. They go to the movies, they go to dinner, they have little planned events when they're on the road. And it does feel like, you're at home for so long, you're trying to work together here. And sometimes you do need to get away from family and you need to get away from real life in order to sort of find your balance as a group. Do you think this is a good thing?
Yeah, I know they went to dinner last night. They, obviously a couple days between games. I think they're probably in the air right now on the way to Atlanta. But yeah, as far as I know, everyone in the traveling party went out to dinner last night in Salt Lake to an Italian place. And yeah, camaraderie is good. I mean, I think, I've asked around a little bit about incorporating DeMar, and everyone's like, he's easy. He's the most non-difficult addition any team can make because he's been on so many teams. He's seen so much in the league. He's so constant. He's just steady, right? Everything you hear about DeMar DeRozan is some synonym for steadiness. So I think all that helps. But this is also a group, even aside from DeMar, there aren't a ton of new faces in terms of the core. Like the rotation has pretty much been intact here for a while now. So yeah, they needed the road trip. I think maybe more important than the road trip is just kind of the schedule. Like to get Portland and Utah to get your first 2 wins, for that to be your first back-to-back, I think is, beneficial for the Kings. Atlanta has struggled out the gate and they're banged up. They play tonight, so the Kings will have a little bit of a rest advantage against the Hawks when they play on Friday. Toronto's not great, obviously. And then, Miami will be a tough game on Monday. But I think even more so than the timing of the trip, I think it's the opponents of the trip, because the Kings have an opportunity to get some wins under their belt before they return home.
Chris Biderman covering the Kings for the Sacramento Bee, doing a great job. 60 seconds here. If the 49ers make one trade, I got to ask you a Niners question. You host the world's finest 49ers podcast, Candlestick Chronicles. If they make one trade, what position should they address?
I would say defensive line. And I know a lot of people would say edge, and I wouldn't have any problem with edge. But if you can get somebody who could play both, interior and the outside, I think that would be super beneficial. The Jaguars stink, and they're selling off some players. Why not bring back Eric Armstead? Like, I think it would. I think, yeah, Sacramento legend, obviously, but somebody who can play outside and inside, be obviously a really good run defender for them, which they need, and provide a boost to the pass rush. I think that would make a lot of sense. I don't know if that bridge has been burned because of, what happened in the offseason and the 49ers wanting him to take a pay cut and then releasing him and all that. But I mean, he's exactly what they need. So that's a type of player I would go get.
He's Chris Biderman. You can read him at sacb.com. Doing a great job covering the Kings for this entire road trip. Appreciate your time, man. Go catch a flight and fly safe.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
See you, Chris. There he goes. Chris Biderman, Sacramento Bee, Candlestick Chronicles podcast. Shout out.
It's a good podcast.
Really good podcast. Real quick before we move on here, I don't want this point to get. This is separate from the Kings conversation we're having.
Okay.
The Jazz stink.
Oh yeah.
That is not a good basketball team.
No.
I don't know what is going on there.
What?
You have 32-year-old Jordan Clarkson. You've got like 20-year-old Keontae George. I don't the
age arc is all
Lauri
over the place.
Markkanen's 28. Like everything we talked about on the Purple and Black pregame show yesterday, like everything we talked about, like, hey, this team just doesn't make any sense. All just happened on the screen last night.
You know what, man? I got to be honest. It's the same thing with the Portland Trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
It is the same thing with the Atlanta Hawks.
Mm-hmm.
These are teams that are lost in their build. Why you have a Clint Capella and a Risachet in the same starting lineup is like, I know they're trying to blend this thing and all that stuff, but there are teams around the league that do not have a clear vision for where they're going and who they are right now. You can write off Toronto as another team that's just really young and they're just not there yet. But the other teams, you got a 27, 28-year-old Trae Young, and then you get, or 26, whatever he is, 26-year-old Trae Young, but then these super young guys, and you're trying to bank draft picks. Like, it's a lot of weirdness.
Yeah, and I understand. Like, I get why the Jazz wanted to extend Lauri Markkanen. I totally get it. But at the same time, that should also be paired with like a Brandon Ingram trade. And then you're bringing it, and at least that now you have two guys who are all-star caliber players that you put. Okay, yeah, you see kind of the. Lauri Markkanen is by far their best player, and I am not impressed with Lauri Markkanen. There was never a point last night when you're getting paid what Lauri Markkanen's getting paid. There should be at least a couple of possessions where you're like, dang, that's the best player on the court right now. Oh, the Kings might not have an answer for that guy. And that never happened last night.
He didn't look like he was moving well. Like, I did not like the look and the feel of Lauri Markkanen. And I've always been a huge fan and thought that he would be a perfect fit next to Domantas Sabonis. But what I watched last night was, oh no, that's not, I've said this a million times. People within the walls of the Kings organization for years said we wouldn't trade Keegan Murray for Lauri Markkanen. We think Keegan Murray will be a better player.
Yeah.
I have, like, early in this season, Keegan is the better player.
Yeah.
And it was like very odd to see Lauri Markkanen not look like a legitimate NBA, like near all-star level player. Just not at all.
I know he left with the back, left the game.
He had a back or a hip or something. Yeah.
So maybe that was bothering him and has been bothering him, but man, not impressed with him or the Jazz last night. Wanted to fit that in. All right. We've got more Kings coming up. Of course, after their win over the Jazz, we'll take a look around the NBA scoreboard because a lot of interesting stuff happened in the NBA. Only 4 games last night, but some intriguing NBA action around the league. We'll also get to that. That's James. I'm Kyle. We are the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube here on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Center. I need a place that this can sit that isn't in my way. My rundown.
I like to slide it like what I do with box scores at the game. I slide them under my laptop. Like, and then I can, move it back and forth, or if I need to fold it.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Over there, there's 2 mouse pads. It's like very cluttered on that side. Hey, Secure and Bagley. I get it that Keegan is a 4th or 5th option and Lauri is a first option. Lauri Markkanen is not a first option though on a good team. I would make that point, and he's probably a 2nd or 3rd option on a really good team. I would say probably a 3rd option on a really good team. And like, I don't hate Lauri Markkanen still as a player. I think he's really good, but that's a dude who makes $42 million this year, goes up to 44 the next couple of years, 46, and then like 53 million. And I looked at that. I'm like, I don't know that at this point, like, he didn't look like that player. And then he got hurt. I don't know. Yeah, Lucky Trickster. Oh, I think John Collins is a little bit of fool's gold. If you could get him for, say, I don't know, like 10 million next year, sure. I would be A-okay with him being like one of those dudes coming off the bench. And he's looked really good against the Kings. But I don't know if it's because he looks good or everyone else on his team just doesn't look like they're playing hard or doesn't look like they're playing well. Like, Will Hardy's in a really tough spot right there because I think he's a good coach. But I don't think, again, he's dealing with Colin Sexton. Like, I don't know if they benched him or what happened yesterday where all of a sudden Jordan Clarkson started, but then Colin Sexton responded by going 0 of 7 from the field and 0 and 5 from 3. Like, just like that team is a bit of a mess. So John Collins is nice, but also look at John Collins the last couple of years. Every time he steps on the court, his team gets worse. So I think they would give away John Collins at this point. Not that they dislike John Collins, but again, I think he's in the final year of his contract where he makes around. No, he has a player option next season at $26.5 million. So no. He looks motivated right now. Maybe it's motivated to get the hell out of there. That's possible. The idea of John Collins and the functionality of John Collins have always been at odds. And he's only 27. Just turned 27. He leads the league in free throw percentage. He hasn't missed one yet, John Collins.
Wow.
And he's taking 3 a game, so it's not like he hasn't taken any. I mean, he's 12 for 12. Yeah, like 22-year-old John Collins averaging 21.6 and 10 rebounds with 1.6 blocks per game and shot 40% from 3. Talk about like a dream player to put next to Domantas Sabonis. But I don't think he's that player anymore.
One of my favorite online bits with John Collins every year was just him being worth, or not being worth, but being on the trading block for 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. I mean, that's
right,
it. He's a dude who's been on the trade block for years. Yeah, on the court, they're a 116.6 offensive rating last year. And a 123.9 defensive rating for negative 7.3. When he was off the court, their defense dropped to 115.4, so 1.2 down. But the defense improved to 118. So they're a negative 2.6 when he was off the court, as opposed to a negative 7.3.
Ugh.
I keep getting questions about Orlando. Like, Orlando's probably a week away from being back in the fold. I don't know how much he'll play, though.
Here we go. 10 seconds. Hour number 2. That's James Ham. I am Kyle Madsen. We're hanging out with you till noon. Then we'll hand it off to D-Lo and KC. Talking Kings Jazz. Kings got a 113-96 win last night in Utah. We'll also take a look around the NBA. James, let's reset the game last night real quick before we do that, though. Sack Filmroom on Twitter does an outstanding job. Salute to Skylar. Posted Keon Ellis's defensive stats from yesterday. The Utah Jazz went guarded by Keon Ellis, 0 for 7 from the field. Of course, he had the 3 blocks and 2 steals. He had 3 deflections and a 59 defensive rating. That means the Jazz, per 100 possessions that Keon Ellis was on the court, that's what the offensive defensive ratings are.
Mm-hmm.
An estimated number of points scored or allowed during 100 possessions. His defensive rating was 59. That means per 100 possessions with Keon Ellis on the court, the Jazz were scoring 59 points.
Yeah. No, he was
That's
excellent.
Insane.
He was absolutely spectacular, but in all honesty, that's not who he was in the preseason, unfortunately. And like, this job was there to take. And now he needs to find a way to work with everybody else. And that means he needs to learn how to bring the ball up so Malik Monk can play off ball a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It means he's got to be, ready to shoot on that second unit that is really struggling to put up points. Like, he's got to do more. And it'll be interesting to see how he evolves and how he learns from this process.
Let's dive a little further into that, as well as some other aspects of last night's Kings win with James Ham. So 3, 2, and 1. We'll fix that in post with James Ham's 6 quick thoughts.
How'd yesterday's Kings game go? Kings insider James Ham has 6 notes you need to know. Here are James Ham's 6 quick thoughts.
James Ham, number 1.
Sabonis snatched Walker Kessler's soul.
Oh.
I just think for me, like this was such a huge advantage swing at one position on the court. 28 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. I thought Domantas Sabonis continues to be great, but also he neutralized one of the great shot blockers in the game. Just absolutely took him out of the game.
Yeah, man. When he's playing really as well as he has defensively this season, or particularly last night, that's a heck of a player, man. Not driving, but I'm early season. I'm on the Domas MVP bus.
Okay,
why not? We're 4 games in. Let's get wild.
Let's get
weird.
Let's get wild.
Yeah, he was awesome last night, and I continue. I don't want to spend. We're not Utah's sports leader here, but it feels a little to me like the Jazz are trying to turn Walker Kessler into John Collins from hey, he can be had, 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
You can have this guy, rim protector, and then you watch him and you're, he's a good player, but am I giving up first-round picks to get Walker Kessler in my rotation? Like,
is he a good? I don't know.
I think he's fine.
I okay, he's fine.
Yeah.
Like I mean, again, Greg Ostertag-esque. And I'd even say that like Ostertag was at least a little more of an offensive lob threat, like weapon that you had to defend because he could dunk with like his feet on the ground.
And I get why he was part of the Rudy Gobert deal, and they really want to swing. Oh man, we got this guy in the Rudy Gobert trade, and we flipped him for more. But no, he's a legit 7-footer. He's 8 points, 8 boards, 2.4 blocks in his career in 23 minutes a night. Like, yeah, good player.
Okay,
but it's not like he's going up there and putting up 25 and 10 a night.
Yeah, it's not like he's a defensive player of the year candidate.
Yeah, good defensive player for sure, but
yeah,
like man, he's probably coming off the bench on a good team.
No, totally. And Jay Oliphant in the chat says he's basically Gobert. I was telling Kyle before. I think what they're trying to do is create another Gobert so they can trade him again. It's like they're trying to make like the Gobert factory there, and it's like, okay, well he's he's just not very, very good. I mean he's okay, but again he's a starting center on a.
I am not a Rudy Gobert fan.
Yeah,
I think Rudy Gobert is one of the most overrated basketball players of my lifetime.
I don't disagree.
Walker Kessler is not close.
No.
Not that guy.
No, but I also like I was there when Rudy Gobert was coming through for the draft process, and like his legs were little sticks, and he was just like this really, really tall guy who had very little game, and he developed there to the player he was that he is still today. But it's not like those style of players. Like I don't know that they truly fit in the modern NBA. And I think we've seen it with Gobert. He gets played off the court in every single playoff series, and it's just really tough when a guy's limited like that.
6 quick thoughts. Number 2, James. Oh nope, wait, here we go. Number 2, James.
Fox got cheeky.
I'm sorry, what?
He threw the ball off of Walker Kessler's behind, and then grabbed the ball and laid it up. I thought like Fox is having a little bit of fun. And he was good. He wasn't great. 19 points, 6 assists. I think he's still trying to figure out who he is and what he is with DeMar DeRozan. And so there is this little bit of like, he's really good for stretches and then he kind of disappears for stretches. I think we'll see this sort of even itself out throughout the season. But for right now, I still think he was really good. He just wasn't like, he didn't stand out as the best player on the court. That has been Domantas Sabonis in every game.
Yeah, this is if I'm picking out something that concerns me through the first 4 games as a potential like long-term issue, it's Fox shooting 29.2% from 3 on 6 shots a night, on 6 attempts a night.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a little bit concerning to me. He's averaging 21.5, 7.5 assists. If he's not averaging close to 30 because he's dishing out more assists, like, okay, fine. But like you said, it still feels like in the preseason, it felt like he was taking a back seat, letting DeMar DeRozan and everybody else figure it out. This is De'Aaron Fox's team. When he needs to step in, he'll step in and kind of take over. And it feels like a continuation of the preseason where he's out there and he's contributing. He's a good player for sure.
Yeah, he put up, I think, 28 against Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has looked like, to me, too much of an afterthought. Like, I need De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, for my money, is the most talented player on this team. He is capable of going for 30 a night. I know he probably doesn't need to with this group, but he is that type of player. And for him to be as passive as he's been, I don't like that.
Yeah, I think that there's going to come a point where he takes over for a stretch.
I hope so.
And that could be like, it could take a month, whatever it is. Like, I think he is going to slowly build who he is into this. But at the same time, what you don't want him to do is like take such a back seat that this becomes DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis' team.
Yes.
And like, I don't think that that's happening, but I certainly think it's on the table, and he needs to be more assertive. And I kind of, we saw this with him and Tyrese Halliburton, where he just didn't look like he was like 100% sure.
Yeah.
And, when he is like, when he's got the ball and he decides to start making his move, he had a play last night where he cut like in and out of like 3 different Utah Jazz players on his way to the basket. And I think he got fouled. It was just remarkable.
Right. It's there.
Yep.
And I thought against Minnesota, early on, Kings up 5-0. Minnesota goes on that, was it 8-0 run, 8 or 9-0 run, whatever it was. And then Fox came down and back-to-back buckets.
Yeah.
Just easy. Got to his spots. I mean, shots he's gonna hit 80% of. And I thought, oh, that's gonna kind of be what he does this year. It's gonna be the Kings offense, and then when they need to settle down, when they need a bucket, it's gonna be Fox time. And it just hasn't felt like that. I know his shooting percentage from the field is about on par with what it was last year. He's taking 3.5 fewer shots per game.
Yeah,
that's a pretty substantial amount. I would like to see him get back up closer to 20 shots a night.
Yeah, and I think a part of the function of that is that the last 2 games have not been highly competitive.
That's true. That's fair.
So I think we'll have to wait. What he had 20 against the Lakers, right? So I do want to see 20 shot attempts. I want to see what he looks like 3-4 weeks in. And like, look, I think everyone in Sacramento knows, like, if he should be the other all-star,
1,000%.
like, and he needs to, like, DeMar DeRozan's a Hall of Famer, but his years of being an all-star are pretty much over. Like, he's 35 years old. If he made an all-star team, it would be like, what in the world just happened?
Yeah.
After not being an all-star.
It'd be a reputation thing.
Well, yeah. It would also be if the Kings were winning a ton of games and he was averaging well over 20 a game. But my point is that De'Aaron Fox is the all-star.
I agree.
He should be the guy who feels that way and plays that way and is putting himself out there in that way. And DeMar should be a really good third guy.
Averaging a career high 7.5 assists. Also, De'Aaron, 93.8% from the free throw line. Whew. That's big time. That's also a career high by a lot. So yeah, hopefully he starts to figure this out and looks a little more like De'Aaron Fox the rest of the way. Number 3.
DeRozan posted his 4th straight 20+ point game, plus points per game. Like, this is his he's just going out there. He's just a walking bucket.
He's doing exactly what we all expected.
Yeah, it just looks really, really easy for him to get to 20 on every single night. Not any night, every night.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, he's very, very good at putting the ball in the basket. And also say, like, he's way up there in steals, averaging 2 steals per game. He gets a ton of deflections. Like, he's more disruptive defensively than I thought. I don't know that, like, I can't say he's better defensively. I think he's been more disruptive, and he still has a lot of game on both ends of the court.
Yep, definitely. Number 4.
Keegan Murray shut down Lauri Markkanen before Markkanen got hurt. was all over him. Like he made Markkanen look like slow and plodding.
Yeah.
And so I like what Keegan's doing. I need him to continue that early season aggressiveness. The 14 points on 6 of 14 shooting. Again, I was surprised to see that he shot the ball 14 times. But I need him to continue to be around that number.
Mm-hmm.
And, if he's hitting a couple more, maybe getting to the free throw line like he did not do last night, but hitting, 1 or 2 more threes, he'll be right where we think he'll be for this season.
He is basically, from a attempts perspective, exactly what he was a season ago. 12.7 shots a night last season, 12.8 this season, 6.6 3-point attempts a night last season, 6.8 this season. He is just doing exactly what he was doing, which is okay. But like you said, that early season aggressiveness, night one, like, oh, this is a different Keegan. And since then, he's just kind of been the same guy. I need him to be a little more assertive consistently.
I think so too.
But if you're going to go do stuff like just kind of shut down Lauri Markkanen defensively and be as good as he's been defensively, you'll take that right now.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Number 5.
Keon Ellis shines.
Yeah, he did.
Again, we've talked about his stat line a couple of times, but 3 blocks, 2 steals. I mean, he was all over the court. He dove on, he got the ball. Somebody stripped it from him. He dove on the floor, got a jump ball. Like, it's those energy plays. And I think that's the biggest thing. His activity level and his energy is different. And it's different in the same way that Malik Monk is different, where Malik brings just his totally different energy to the court, except for one of them does it on the defensive end, one of them does it on the offensive end.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings need that. They need that guy who comes in and becomes a catalyst defensively. And so I'm hoping that he's growing from, whatever's going on and getting through, sort of the trudge of preseason and into the, what's happening early in the season. And I'm hoping that he's building that trust with Mike Brown.
Yeah, I think he is. Whatever was bothering him early on looked like it was behind him last night.
Yep.
Locked in. Number 6.
Number 6, final one. Kevin Huerter looks like 2022-23 version is loading. And to me, Kevin Huerter, again, it might have been rough and it might have upset fans and whatever. The Kings are a better team when Kevin Huerter is rolling. And that's just it. Like, they're a better team when De'Aaron Fox is rolling. They're a better team when Trey Lyles is playing well. But Kevin Huerter has an ability to space the floor like nobody's business. And so for me right now, I think he is doing an excellent job of not only, shooting the ball, shooting 41.7% from 3 on 6 attempts per game, shooting 90% from 2. He has not been to the free throw line yet, which is weird. But again,
don't draw a foul, man.
Yeah, this is the type of player that if you didn't have, you would be searching for if you were the Kings. And so, look, the Kings are a better team when Kevin Huerter is playing well. Whether it's a starter, whether it's off the bench, I don't care. Just they're a better team when he's playing well.
Yeah, man. Volume about the same as last year. He's just connecting more often. His effective field goal percentage is 70.6, which is by far his career high. If this is what it takes, then great. If the 8.5 shots a night and 6 threes a night, if that's not going to jump back up to, closer to 7 threes a night and 12 shots a night, I'm okay with that. I need him to be efficient. I need him to be a threat. And he has been.
Yeah, it's really tough to find more shots. The way this team finds more shots, they got to start playing faster. Like that, you need to go create more. They need to go get offensive rebounds. Like, you want to create more shots. If you want to score more points, if you're in the rotation, then go manufacture a couple of buckets.
I also would like to point out that Kevin Huerter is looking like he's back to his more normal self. He's currently shooting a career high 41.7% from 3 after removing the headband.
Oh,
I have been on this since last year.
Oh.
I was on game 9 last year. The headband's got to go.
Blame the headband.
Headband gone. Shooting a career high from 3. Salute to Kevin Huerter for doing what needed to be done. I understand it might have been tough. I understand you don't always want to make that change, but the headband had to go so Kevin Huerter could thrive.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Headband Huerter is a thing of the past.
It is. Salute to Kevin Huerter.
That's right.
What have we learned about the Kings so far through the first couple of games? here, let me just ask you this. We had a little bit of a discussion in the offseason about, hey, Keegan Herter, Jesus, fix that in post. Keegan Murray has grown. Okay, are you paying him a max rookie contract? Like, this is a max rookie scale extension. Like, like, dang, this is, if he's not going to be more aggressive, if he's not, I don't know, man. It's a lot of money. You're paying Domas. You're paying. Through the first few games, he looks like the kind of player that you're wanting to give that max extension to.
Yeah, I think if he's going to sit around like the 14 point per game mark where he is right now, 14 and 7, then maybe you're a little bit below max money. But I think we all can see the outline, and we can also see all the players that got paid over the last in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
The rookie scale extensions for the crop of players before him, the year before him, like a lot of players got max money.
Yeah.
And I don't know that all of those players deserve max money, but I certainly know that Keegan Murray is careening towards max money, rookie scale max money.
Sure.
Which is like basically $30 million a year.
Sure.
Coming into the season, I don't know if I thought he between 20 and 30, he's somewhere in that range. And maybe he doesn't get a full max. Maybe he does. But at this point, and you're watching his impact on this team specifically, man, he is right there. He's in line. And a lot of players around him in that draft are not.
Yeah.
Like Jaden Ivey went the pick behind him. There's no way he's getting a max money. Jabari Smith Jr., it's tough to see him getting max money. Chet Holmgren getting all the monies. Paolo Banchero's getting all the monies. But the other guys around them, like, not really. I think Keegan is worked his way into being a top a plus starter on a playoff team.
He's come back and been as good or better defensively than he was last year, which is a huge component of this for me.
Yes.
But we've seen the flashes now. I think we've seen more flashes this year that there's growth to his offensive game. I think we really saw it against Minnesota. And that's a very good defensive team where he was not shy about putting the ball on the deck and creating a shot for himself. He was letting it fly from three. I think he had 10 3-point attempts that night. 5 of 10. That's kind of more what I want to see him be. And maybe he's not that consistently this year because it is De'Aaron. We've seen Domas be more aggressive offensively. DeMar DeRozan's going to put up a ton of shots, but DeMar DeRozan, that's a 2 or 3 year window.
Yeah.
With DeMar. And then after that, it's got to be the Keegan Murray show.
Yeah.
I've seen enough from him offensively that maybe it's not going to be as consistent as I personally would like, but you see a world where if DeMar DeRozan after this year says, okay, I'm done playing basketball, I'm hanging him up, where Keegan could pick up a lot of the slack left behind by DeRozan.
Yeah, I think you're going to have DeRozan for all 3 years at this point, but I also think that as DeRozan starts to fade a little bit, Keegan's got to come up.
Yeah.
He's got to be the guy who's taking more and more of the scoring load over the next 2-3 years. And again, look, DeRozan is as advertised, but I'd also point out, we talked about this before, he shot over 21 shots a game last year, 20 shots a game. He's at 14.5 field goal attempts per game. And the biggest difference, he's getting to the line like 8 times per game, which is absolutely wild. But we're seeing sort of like what DeMar DeRozan can look like, and he's becoming more and more efficient for the Kings. By the end of the season, I could see him being at 13.5, 14 shots per game, but averaging around the same, maybe 21, 22 points per game.
Sure.
Just because I think he's going to get more efficient in this offense as it continues. And I think it will prolong his career playing in an offense like this. But I also think that there will come a point where, you see Keegan Murray take this leap and DeMar DeRozan will start sort of handing some of this like offensive scoring load to him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's to me why I'm comfortable giving him a max extension. As of right now. We'll see. Call me at Christmas. But
yeah,
for right now, through the first 4 games, I feel pretty good about it. And then the other thing, do you think that this little scoring outburst from Domas, where he's averaging 24.3 a game, are we going to continue seeing that?
Yeah, I think 22, 23. The thing I would point out I haven't one time felt like he forced anything.
Yeah, man. In fact, there's been more times where I've been like, dog, shoot it. Like, I know he's shooting, he's being more aggressive shooting threes and stuff, but there's still been a few times where he like starts it and then he puts it on the deck and does the thing where he's like probing. It's like, bro, let it fly, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know if he can keep up shooting 67.9% from the field and 54.5 from three.
Yeah, he might go a little cold here at some point.
But. Yeah, but I still like the way he's scoring is just, it's effortless. I mean, not really, because he's getting hit still, but even that is calmed down. He's not getting hit nearly as much. I think part of it's early in the season, part of it's the opponent. Yeah, but I think he's going to be a guy who's averaging over 20 a game, probably over 22 a game this season.
Yeah. All right. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. The Kings weren't the only game in the NBA last night. There were 3 other contests going on, and all of them had something a little bit interesting. All of them involving the Western Conference, which was fun. Yeah, literally. It was 6 other teams playing last night, and 5 of them in the West. We'll talk about that coming up and what it means for the Kings. He's James Ham. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders, and we are sponsored by Jiffy Lube here on ESPN 1320 at Sacramento Sports Enterprise.
Let's see. Where is Houston? Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith is shooting the ball very poorly to open the season. 11.5 points, 9 rebounds, 0.8 blocks. I think he's, again, he's getting, eaten up. He just kind of swallowed up in a whole group of young players. Even like Alperen Şengün is only averaging 14.8 points and 12.5 rebounds per game, as opposed to what he finished last year at 21-1 and 9.3. So he's got way more rebounds, but they're not running the ball through him nearly as much. He had 5 assists per game last year and only 3.5 this year. I think they're in figure it out mode, which isn't easy when you're dealing with a whole bunch of really, really highly talented young players. Yeah, Keegan hasn't shot the ball perfectly from 3, but again, I almost feel like Keegan, you need to, like, if he's going to shoot 8 threes in a game, it's got to be 2 per quarter. It can't be this huge first quarter, second quarter, and then you forget about him completely. It's very weird. John Poles, you're all over all of this today. I think maybe it's the rest of the Rockets are looking over at Jalen Green, averaging 28.8 points per game, but on only 43.2% shooting. If I'm his teammates, I'm like, hey, bro, calm down a little bit when you're shooting 43% from the field. Although he's shooting 41.1% from 3 on 11.5 attempts per game. Van Vliet is shooting a ton too. Well, he's just shooting a ton of threes. Yeah, that Rockets team, they've got so much talent that I think at a certain point you might have too much talent and not know what to do with it. Reed Shepherd is only averaging 9.5 minutes per game. Tough look.
Yeah, but he was awesome in Summer League.
Yeah. I'm going to go fire up the other computer.
Okay. Oh. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the Kings play like a good team. Or another good team. September 08.
Yeah, build on who you are during this stretch where you have a bunch of games against bad teams. What's up, Emmy?
I don't think I'd take 3-1. I think you can go 4-0 here.
Yeah.
Like maybe you drop that one to Miami.
Well, you got to remember though that Miami one, if things play out the right way, you could be 3-0 right there and looking at, getting a little hungry right there for that fourth win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then don't they have something silly like Toronto the next day or something?
Raptors on Wednesday, 2 days later.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you get Clippers, Phoenix, San Antonio, Phoenix, Minnesota, Utah, Atlanta again. Then you get the Clippers again, but then Nets, but then Thunder and Wolves Monday and Wednesday. We might have to, we can talk about this off air, but that Minnesota game is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Oh.
Depending on how that goes, maybe we just jump on the live stream for a few minutes on Thursday. Maybe like halftime of the first football game.
Oh, like during the day?
Yeah.
Talk to people?
Yeah. Depending on how the game goes. If it's just a kind of nothing burger of a game.
Yeah. My Thanksgivings are a little chaotic because
you have people. Maybe I'll talk to D-Long.
I don't go anywhere, but no one comes to my house.
If you're cooking and stuff, that's a lot.
No, I go to my mom's house and then we leave and go to my mother-in-law's house. So I have 2 Thanksgivings.
I'm sitting it because my cousin who lives in SoCal is a nurse and she's working on Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving we're just chilling, and then Friday we're doing like Thanksgiving dinner. So I got time to kill on Thanksgiving. Maybe I'll jump on solo and just talk to the people.
Okay. All
right, here we go.
Now, back to the Insiders with James Ham and Kyle Madsen, brought to you by Jiffy Lube on ESPN 1320.
James there, Kyle here. The handoff with one of D-Lower KC coming up in about 12 minutes. We take you up to noon. We'll hand it off to those guys, and they'll take you up to 4 o'clock, and that's when coverage of Game 5 of the World Series between the Dodgers and Yankees begins. Coverage 4 o'clock right here on ESPN 1320. Do not miss a pitch, because if the Yankees, check this out. I saw this stat yesterday. The Dodgers were up 3-0 in the World Series, and then the Yankees, of course, won 11-4 last night. The Major League Baseball has come out and banned the fans who interfered with Mookie Betts last night. Not really interfered, tried to assault Mookie Betts last night.
Yeah, not great, man. Don't grab a player.
Yeah, if the ball is in over the wall and in foul territory, you can put your hands up and try and grab it. Once the player has caught the ball, leave him alone. Like, that's ridiculous. But anyways, banned for Game 5, but only Game 5.
After that, they're allowed back in.
Season ticket holder again next year. At least that's how it sounds right now. If the Yankees win tonight and force a Game 6, it'll be the first time in World Series history that a team has forced a Game 6 after going down 3-0.
I think last night they said it's been 54 years since somebody has won a Game 4 when down 3-0. Yeah, it's like something crazy. Like no one has done
a lot of sweeps.
Even one. Yeah, usually when it's 3-0, it's like it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the Yankees win tonight, we get a Game 6 in LA, and it gets a little tight.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want games. I don't have a rooting interest. I don't care. Like, I don't want either team to win particularly. So I just want games. I want as much drama as possible.
I agree. Just
that's
like
kind of what I'm rooting for.
I want to see this thing, get dragged out a little bit. Like let's play.
Yeah. Should be a really good series. Maybe Aaron Judge will start hitting. I don't know. It'd be really cool if he showed up.
Doubt it.
Anyways, let's take a look around the NBA as the Kings were mollywhopping the Jazz in Utah. Dallas beat Minnesota 120-114. Hoops Hype. We love the homies over at Hoops Hype.
Mm-hmm.
Tweeted out that the game gave off West Finals vibes. I wonder why. What about Mavericks Timberwolves could have possibly given off West Finals vibes? collapse?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
A mystery, a real mystery. Do you think the Mavs are just a bad matchup for Minnesota?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I also think Minnesota right now, again, they're 2-2 like the Kings are. They aren't who they're going to be. It's going to take a little while for them to figure out like their path forward. And I think it's so much easier for a team like Dallas to integrate a player like Klay Thompson,
Sure.
who has a specific role and who did not shoot the ball well at all last night.
2 for 7 last night.
Yeah, it's easier to integrate that than to integrate a true number 2 scorer. And, not only that, but a guy who typically has the ball in his hands a lot, a big assist guy in Julius Randle. And so I think, again, the Timberwolves are going to take some time, and they may not reach the same heights that they did last year. I mean, it's very possible that they don't, just because, you lost a big player and, maybe you don't. And I think even last year, I felt like they caught lightning in a bottle a little bit, and, a little bit like the Kings did the year before. Like whether they're going to be there or not at the end, I don't know. But I certainly, just because they make it to the Western Conference Finals one year does not mean they're going to make it there a second year.
I just don't know, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face. I don't know that Naz Reid and Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Dante DiVincenzo, that's their 3 primary guys off the bench. They all played 24 plus minutes off the bench last night. I don't like the Kings. It's Fox and Domas and DeRozan, but man, you have to. Keegan Murray is a legitimate threat. Kevin Huerter's a legitimate threat. Malik Monk is dynamite off the bench. I don't know that Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle doing a bunch of one-on-ones while everybody else stands around. I don't know that Alexander Walker and DiVincenzo and Reed are like. I know Naz Reid's a very good player. I don't want to, but I just don't. Maybe it all fits together eventually, but I don't like the way those pieces work, and I don't know if that's enough of a threat to have a team where it's a my turn, your turn, Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle thing work.
Yeah,
and
because
I just kind of think they're fatally flawed in that way.
No, I see what you're saying because, like, look, if you look at the Kings, we all know that Keegan Murray in a different system, like where he was asked to do more, would probably be at 18 points per game.
Yeah,
like
I would agree with you.
He averaged 15 last year. We can easily see how he could be an 18 point per game scorer. He might be that by the end of the season. But the Kings have Fox, they have Sabonis, and they have DeRozan, which are like in most playoff series are going to go for 70 to 80 every single night. On top of that, they have all of these other pieces that can give them, 20 or 30 if they need it, whether it's Monk, whether it's Keegan, whether it's Kevin Huerter. The depth of scoring on Minnesota took a hit. And I don't know that they're going to be, and it really does feel like it's 2 dudes that will have the ball all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where having like more of maybe it's the fact that they're 2 dudes. One of them I think is great. The other one I think is like slightly inefficient and okay. He's a good player. He's not an all-star typically, in Julius Randle. And so I'm a little put off by like their overall ability to, like, for an 82 game season, to really have like a lot of oomph.
Yeah, and at some point, like you need those secondary players to be involved. And I don't mean involved as in Anthony Edwards drives and the defense collapses and he's going to kick it out to Nikhil Alexander-Walker for 3.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And I think Chris Fincher's a good coach, and maybe they figured out. Anthony Edwards, 7 of 13 last night from 3. Julius Randle, 3 for 3. 62.5% from 3 this season.
Jesus.
If Julius Randle's going to have another year where he's shooting 40+% from 3, okay, maybe the calculus on all this changes. But I think at some point he's going to come crashing back to earth. And if they're not knocking down a ton of threes, I don't know that they can hang with a lot of teams.
Well, that, and I think the other problem is that they were like not just good, they were outstanding defensively last year. And I don't think they're the same team. Like they're like, can they be a good defensive team? Right now
they're going to be the number 1 defense in the league, though.
Yeah, their defensive rating right now is 15th in the league at 113.8. Last year it was, what do we look at, 108.4? Like, they were outstanding, and I don't know that they can get back to that level with Julius Randle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
intriguing.
Yeah. The Wolves about what I thought they'd be. The Mavericks about what I thought they'd be. The Warriors beat the Pelicans 124-106 last night. No Steph Curry, no Andrew Wiggins, no DeAnthony Melton. The Pelicans led by 20 in that game. And Buddy Hield went off. Buddy Hield, 28 points, 25 of them in the second half, 19 in the fourth quarter. He was 7 of 11 from 3. I think he was 6 of 6 from 3 in the second half. I just took over. Lindy Waters III, 21 points for Golden State, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal. That's nice for the Warriors. They moved to 3-1. Really, really quality win for them. Moses Moody 5 of 6 from 3. If the Kings can't beat this version of the Pelicans, I give up.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a team that had two star players go for 30.
Brandon Ingram 30, Zion Williamson 31 efficiently. 24 of 36 they were combined.
And how much did they lose by?
18. And they were up 20.
Yeah, that's not good.
They gave up 77 points in the second half to a Warriors team that had no Steph Curry and no Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, I look at when we step back and I know a lot of fans. Steve Kerr inherited a great team, and then they went out and they got Kevin Durant. But man, with the team he has right now, the Warriors' offensive rating is 3rd in the NBA, and their defensive rating is 2nd in the NBA.
Insane.
I don't care what they're doing right now. I think some of it's smoke and mirrors. Sure. At the same time, man, he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that, I mean, they got outscored 31-14 in the first quarter last night. And I think that's another one of Steve Kerr's kind of, I don't want to say superpowers, but one of his skills as a coach is I think a lot of teams are just kind of punting at that point, going, hey, we don't have 2 of our 4 best guys. We're down 17. Okay, we're done for tonight. The fact they battled back, I was super impressed. But as good as Golden State was, like I said, the Pelican 24 turnovers. It just that's not a good team right now.
Yeah, and
they got a lot to figure out.
And again, Steve Kerr has his team ready to play every single night, and everyone is getting a look. He's already had a ton of different people in the starting lineup. You've got 13 guys playing 11 minutes or more. Everyone's getting a shot to play. Even Steph Curry's averaging 26 minutes a night.
Yeah, he sat 2 consecutive fourth quarters.
Yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. So I don't know, again, how long this lasts or anything else, but I do know that when you have 13 players who are getting a shot every night, they're going in there and they're playing hard for every single minute they're on the court because they know that if they don't, somebody else is going to be coming in and taking their spot in just a minute.
It's the exact opposite of what we just talked about with Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota's like, all right, these 3 guys are coming off the bench and they're going to stand there and wait for the ball to come to them. And that's just not a super effective way to go about playing basketball. I also want to talk about Denver. Denver beat the Nets last night. Jordi Fernandez's Nets. 144-139 in overtime. And dude, I was a little bit down on the net. Not the net. I was down on the Nets to start the year. No, I was a little bit down on the Nuggets to start the year, but not in any way that was, they're not a title contender. I don't think they're a title contender.
It's early, but their over-reliance on Jokic at this point in the season, out of necessity, is a bit alarming. They've played 2 teams, a little bit like the Kings, 2 teams that are playoff teams to start the season in OKC and the Clippers. And then they've really struggled. They lost those 2 teams against those 2 teams to open the season, like the Kings. And then they go against the Raptors and Nets, and they get the wins. Like the Kings got wins against, Portland and Utah, but to need overtime in both of those games against bad teams, that's not a good look. And so I would be, if I'm the Denver Nuggets, I'm a little concerned about what's happening and what my team looks like right now. and just the depth that they've lost over the last couple of years, you cannot survive with Jokic playing 39 minutes a night and with him averaging 31.5, 12.3, and 9.3. And then it's a steep drop off after that.
Yeah. Jokic had 29, 18, and 16 last night.
Yeah. I know. My son kept looking at it. Like, he's like, are you seeing this stat line? The night before he had 40 in a triple double, I think.
I mean,
yeah.
I get what, and Denver let Bruce Brown walk, and Bruce Brown got a bag.
Yeah, they had no choice. They didn't want to let him walk.
Yeah. Kentavious Caldwell Pope goes, and I understand the idea. Like, Nikola Jokic is that dude. He can make turn water into wine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, man. I just the starting lineup is really good. Jokic and Porter and Murray and Gordon and Christian Brown's been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But their bench, like Julian Strawther, Russell Westbrook, Peyton Watson, and Dario Saric. Like the depth in that, just because we talked about the Nuggets last year, we were like, man, this is just a machine. Like they are just they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they want to do to you, and they're just going to impose their will on the game. And they are just this relentless. It's like Michael Myers. No matter how fast you run, when you turn around, they're going to be there.
There he is.
You might be up 19 in the second half. It is not going to matter because they are just going to churn, and you're going to make mistakes, and they are going to take advantage, and they are not going to make mistakes. That just is not there anymore. A couple years ago, the Nuggets are beating this Nets team by 40, and the Nets are taking them to overtime.
Yeah, and I mean, you beat two really bad teams to get to 500, and you barely beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really tough.
Dennis Schroeder, 28 and 14.
They've made some mistakes too.
Nick Claxton, 16 and 12 with 3 blocks.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas is my favorite player in the NBA right now. I love Cam Thomas, dude. I'm just all in on what he is. 8 of 22 last night, 1 of 8 from 3, 9 of 9 from the free throw line. He had 26 points.
Yeah.
He's just going to go in and chuck.
He is like Mad Bomber. Yeah. He's making Karis LeVert look,
He's averaging 29.5 points a game on 22 shots.
Yeah. Hey,
I don't enjoy watching a player more than I enjoy watching Cam Thomas.
Jordy has that team playing hard. That's all you can ask.
What?
I knew you were talking about Cam Thomas.
He's the best.
Just by hearing the numbers.
He's the best.
We're probably talking about Cam Thomas.
I love taking Cam Thomas. Kenny Caraway's here. It's the handoff. Kenny Caraway of D-Lo and KC coming up here at noon. There's not a more fun on Prize Picks.
Mm-hmm.
I had such a great time putting Asia Wilson in my lineups.
Okay.
Because more than pick a stat, whatever number you want,
right,
it's going more.
She's going up.
It was ridiculous. Her points, rebounds, assists.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 11 of 12 games she went more. And it's so fun when you're Cam Thomas right now.
Yeah.
Pick the points, pick the shot attempts, pick the shot makes, doesn't matter. I'm taking more.
Cam Thomas.
And I'm having a great time watching it.
Cam Thomas, he's a bucket. I wonder if he ever figures some things out and matures a little bit and then becomes a little bit more dynamic. We gotta forget how young he is. I think he's 23.
23.
Yeah, he's a young dude.
He's not like a seasoned vet. He just buckets right now.
I think there's a world, and James, you and I have talked about this before, where Cam Thomas does what you're talking about, and maybe he's just this for his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a world where he harnesses his abilities a little bit. Because like you said, it's not like he stinks and he's just throwing shots at the rim.
Right.
When he wants to get to the rack, he does.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he can shoot a little bit from outside. But if he does harness that, does he fall into like the perfect sixth man role?
Absolutely.
Where he is the kind of maximized version of Jordan Clarkson or Lou Will or Malik Monk, or pick your favorite sixth man.
I mean, we kind of see that from like Jordan Clarkson. Like after it took him a while,
Mm-hmm.
but by the time he got to Utah, 6th man of the year on like the number 1 seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
I wonder if Cam Thomas ever gets there.
Yeah.
I'm wondering though, like, can he be more? I mean, again, we can laugh that he's averaging 29.5 a game, but he's also averaging 2.8 assists and 4.8 rebounds and 1.3 steals. He's shooting 38.2% from 3 and 44.8 from the field. He's getting to the line 7.3 times per game. He's shooting 93.1 from the line. Like, why not? And I think the cool thing about having a guy like Jordy Fernandez come in is if Jordy gets figures out how to get through to him and say, look, man, you can be our guy, but you have got to play defense. If you don't play defense, I'm not going to let you do this. And if you don't pass the ball ever, we're probably not going to do this. Like, I need you to be more. Like, can you slowly turn him into somebody, again, Buddy Hield with the Kings, where he started at the shooting guard position for a long time, a couple of years. There are guys around the league that, Gary Trent, other guys, even Norm Powell, where they can stay in the starting lineup as just like a mad shooter. Right. But you got to put the team around him, and I don't know.
But I just walked in on you saying those numbers. I was like, that's probably Cam Thomas.
Got to be Cam Thomas.
I had no idea what the conversation was. Just heard the numbers. I was like, oh, it's probably Cam Thomas.
And he just turned 23 just a couple of days ago.
Come on. Go ahead. He came into the league at 19, I think.
Getting a Cam Thomas jersey. Real quick, we got like 2 minutes here. Have you learned anything about the Sacramento Kings through the first 4 games? Has there swung you either they're going to be worse than I thought they were, better than I thought they were? Because I've not
learned. I don't know if I learned, maybe confirmed. Like, they're good.
Oh, okay.
They're good.
Yeah.
They're a good team. I think I tweeted it out last night. I said, I'm gonna give it 10 games, and then this offense is gonna be like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, it's going to be easy work. Doesn't mean they're gonna win every game or nothing like that, but that offense is when DeRozan closed the game out. They were up by like 17, but the way I know you guys saw, like, there was like they ran offense through him for like 6 straight possessions, and it was either he got whatever he wanted, or Malik got something, or Kevin Hart. It was just easy. It was get him at the elbow and let him orchestrate everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, man, they're a problem. Yeah. And I think they're gonna get to the point where these teams that are lesser than, like the Jazz and the Trailblazers, I do think this year they're gonna beat the hell out of those teams.
Yeah, that's the mindset shift that I've learned. It's like, oh, okay, they're not overlooking these teams. They're not going to play down to them. They're just going to squash them and move on.
That's where it feels like 2022-23. They might have had like 1 or 2 games the entire season where they let you down in a game. You can lose to a good team, but they didn't lose to bad teams. Right. And that was a really, really, every night they showed up. And that was a good vibe.
There, last year, middle of the year, there would have been like a sense of dread about this road trip, where it's like, oh man, this is a bunch of games they should win, and can you get 2-2?
Yeah.
And instead we're going, hey, can you get all 4 of these?
Come on,
because I think they can. D'Lo and Casey coming up next.
Either.
What? I'm sorry,
Scotty Barnes, not Scotty Brooks. No Scotty Brooks, but no Scotty Barnes.
Oh my God, they're so unserious.
Yeah.
Kings.
What do you guys got coming up?
Kings. And I'm probably the only person in America who found the Yankees fan hilarious last night.
Oh no, that's been the prevailing thought.
Really? They talking crazy about me because I thought it was hilarious. They're like, no, it wasn't. He could have hurt him. Okay, but he didn't. We'll talk about it.
I'm surprised at you.
I want him ejected. Don't come back.
He did. He got ejected.
Yeah, ban that guy forever.
Ban.
All right. D'Lo and KC, who likes fans assaulting players, coming up next. ESPN 1320 Sacramento Sports Center. That's James and Kyle. We're sponsored by Jiffy Lube. We're the Insiders. Back at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Until then, drink water. Be nice to people.